Hello guys, it's 899 here and welcome to today's video, and today we're going to be going through my NRL tips and predictions for round 20 of the NRL season. It's getting close. There's like 8 more matches remaining in the season. It's going to be quite interesting to see how everything does play out, so let's just jump straight into it. Starting off, we've got this Thursday, we have the Dolphins against the Cowboys in a bit of a Queensland kerfuffle, we like to call it. The Dolphins coming off a loss to the Sharks, being the only prediction I got wrong, and I picked it because I didn't want to be labelled as a little bit of a ninny for picking favourites, but there you go, that's what you get for me. As obviously the Dolphins didn't perform too great there, as they're now on a bit of an outside looking in for the top 8. Whilst their opponents, the Cowboys, are also coming off a loss, losing in a very close game to the Bulldogs, a bit of a scrappy game, if you will. So both teams essentially really needing wins in their favour to push themselves into the finals. A win here would push the Dolphins into 7th place because of their absolutely ridiculous for and against that's been formulated over the last couple of weeks, whilst a win for the Cowboys would push them up into 11th. Obviously that draw against Penrith has kind of kept them on the outer. It's going to be quite interesting to see how this does play out, but I'm going to say that I think the Dolphins are going to get the job done. Next up on Friday, we have, honestly, my prediction for game of the round is the Cronulla Sharks up against the Sydney Roosters. Now, the Sharks, as mentioned in the previous match, got the job done against the Dolphins. They've got the win. They're now currently in 9th. Technically tied for 7th, but because of points differential, they're kind of on the lower. Whilst the Roosters are coming off a bounce-back win over a pretty decent-looking Dragons side, which now sees them currently on 8th. Basically, a win for the Roosters or the Sharks could get them as high as 6th, obviously pending on other results. So it'll be quite interesting to see how it plays out. It's most even in terms of the tipping. It's about ESPN Footy has 55% of people tipping Cronulla, while 45% tip the Roosters. It's going to be quite close, this match, but I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset here. Not really an upset, but I'm picking the non-favourites. I think the Roosters in a close one. And then we go into the Friday 8 PM match, as you've got the Penrith Panthers up against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Panthers, currently one of the teams with the best form in the NRL. They've just been on fire as they knocked off the Parramatta Eels 32-10. While South Sydney come into this with the bye, but currently having the worst run of form in the NRL. I mean, and it's honestly not really, you can't blame them because it's just the amount of injuries that they've copped this year. It's kind of unfortunate. It's like to see how they've been going because there was a lot of promise for this year, but it'll be interesting to see how they do combat this. Obviously, a win for Penrith would get them up to 25 points, which would launch them up to 5th, depending on if the Broncos do lose. A win for the Bunnies could get them away from a potential spoon battle, jump them up to 18 points, which could get them up high as 12, depending on other results. And unfortunately, I just don't really see a reality where South Sydney win this, so I'm going to say Penrith in a pretty big beatdown. Now we go on to the Saturday matches. We're at 3 PM. We have the Raiders taking on the Eels. Now the Raiders, I mean, it's pretty safe to say that they're pretty much in the front seat to essentially get the minor premiership. They're coming off a bye and still have got a very darn good record, with their last match being a win in a close game over the Dragons back in round 18. Whilst Parramatta are just sort of, they don't really know what to do. They're still 15th. So they're not last, but they kind of need to start getting points if they want to avoid the potential of another spoon battle, with their last loss being against Penrith last week. I feel like if Parramatta can keep this close, I consider this a win. Dylan Brown's just straight up been dropped for this game, so I'm kind of terrified what's going to happen to him. I do possibly think if any match could go being a 50-point score, probably be this one, and I'm going to say I think the Raiders are going to just dismantle them. Now we go to the 5:30 matchup. We've got the Bulldogs taking on the Dragons. Now the Bulldogs did get a win to snap a 2-game losing spell with their victory over the Cowboys last week, whilst the Dragons, they played very well in their last 2 games, I personally think, but just could not get enough to get over the Roosters. So this match will be quite interesting. I think this could be a match where it's actually deceptively close. Like, I generally think the Dragons have a chance in this match, surprisingly, I know, but I think they could catch the Bulldogs a little bit lacking, but this also could just be the match where the Bulldogs just absolutely just put them to the sword. So I'm going to say I think the Bulldogs win this, but Kyle Flanagan masterclass. And now we go to the 7:35 game on the Saturday, and you have the Melbourne Storm taking on the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, the Storm are currently also on a very decent run of form, coming off in a game against the Newcastle Knights, 32-14 victors, especially with having several players out for the match. I mean, Newcastle did also have players out, but, you know, it's like, Storm very good. Storm very good, as Manly have got a 2-game winning streak as they also coming off a bye. So this will be quite interesting to see where Manly can situate themselves. A big win could see them jump up to 5th, depending on other results. But it'll be a good measuring stick to see, okay, could Manly potentially sneak themselves as potential premiership dark horses? Personally, in terms of tipping, I'm not doing that, but I'm going to say I think the Storm will get the job done. And now we go into the Sunday games. We're at 2 p.m. We have, ladies and gentlemen, we got a shit fling, baby. Let's go. Let's go. The spoon battle is heating up. You got the West Tigers up against the Gold Coast Titans. Now, the Tigers are coming off a 20-point loss to the Warriors in New Zealand, despite coming off a win over the Roosters. So they're currently sitting at 16 points in 14th. Whilst the Titans are also coming off a loss to their sort of up highway rivals in the Broncos in a 26-14 defeat, and they're currently sitting on 14 points. Now, if the Titans win this game, the spoon battle becomes a 5-team race, and then it becomes on form. Like, even still after the win, there's still a high possibility the Titans are still technically last because of points difference, but then you've got the Knights, the Tigers, Parramatta and South Sydney also on the same competition points where it just all will heat up. As much as I want to tip the Titans, I'm going to be a coward and tip the West Tigers, but if the Titans win, let chaos reign. And finally, at 4:05 p.m. on the Sunday, to close off the round, we have the Newcastle Knights taking on the New Zealand Warriors. As a Knights fan, the last 24 hours have been interesting. Been talks of the club higher-ups wanting to get rid of Adam O'Brien. There's also been talk Callum Ponga has been in contact with a New Zealand-based rugby union agent to swap codes at the end of the year. And also Dylan Lucas is now out for possibly the entire rest of the season due to pick up a Liz Frank injury, the same injury that Ponga now has, because that's just absolutely brilliant. Knights did play okay against the Melbourne Storm, but it's like, what can you do? Because they're the Storm, and the Warriors are coming off a win over the Tigers, and obviously the Warriors want to really solidify the top 4 as is. I really just don't see the Knights winning this at all. I think the Warriors just get the job done here. And that's going to be my tips for round 20. Let me know if you have in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.